Welcome to a special edition of TYT Sports, here with the co-founder of the Big Three League as it enters the championship game tomorrow, Jeff Kwatinetz. Jeff, how do you feel as you've gotten to this point 9.5 weeks into a successful season that just got renewed on Fox Sports 1 and is to see continued success next year? How does it feel to be at this point?
Surreal. We worked for a couple of years, and it felt like we would never get to a game. And it just always felt there was so many insurmountable things. But, Cube and I and our team, we just took this one day at a time approach, and let's just do what we can do today. And all of a sudden, we were in Brooklyn, and the game actually happened. And somehow we're sitting here in Vegas, and it ends tomorrow.
So take us back through really the start of this league, because when you look through sports history, you have in America your four major sports leagues, but there have been multiple that have come and gone. Some don't make it out of their first season, some don't make it out of their first week.
Yeah.
You've seemed to find a model that not only has gotten out of its first year and will see more success in the future, but has been able to, in a way, take over in parts on social media and reach a generation that might not have watched Allen Iverson play basketball or Chauncey Billups hit big-time threes for the Detroit Pistons. What was one of the first or second foundational pieces that came together that when you started thinking this might actually happen?
The thing that I think separated it is we weren't trying to emulate another sport. We weren't trying to do what someone like the NBA already does great. There's a sport that's the most popular sport in the world, 3-on-3 basketball. And for whatever reason, there wasn't a professional sport in America for 3-on-3 basketball. And that was lucky. Ice Cube was very bummed about Kobe Bryant retiring, and just analyzing the game. A lot of athletes, there are certain things that over the course of their career that they become better at. There are other things that they lose physically. So running up and down a court with John Wall becomes impossible for a 35-year-old. Having said that, the knowledge that Chauncey Billups as a point guard accumulates over a career, he's so much smarter in basketball IQ than any 22-year-old kid could be. So I think, what we tried to do is how do we take what these guys do better than the younger guys and minimize, without destroying the athleticism of the sport, what they're not as good at, so that you're not seeing a nostalgia league. You're actually seeing guys who are the best at what they do. The thing that's exciting about it was exceeded our expectations and one of the reasons why we went with 3-on-3 is 3-on-3 is very personal. There's no hiding. The defense is much more man-to-man. There's a lot more posting up. You can't hide on offense in the corner. So guys really have to step up. And we're not talking about old guys. We're not talking about guys my age. Okay?
Oakley was getting close.
Right, Oakley's my age. But there's 6 guys in Madison Square Garden that could tell you Oakley is no normal 53-year-old guy. All right? So, but by and large, you're talking about the most elite athletes in the world who have been playing since they're kids. And the average age of our guys are about 35 or 36 years old. And the idea that a 35 or 36-year-old elite athlete cannot show up and play competitive sports is ridiculous. Now, again, they're not going to beat John Wall running up and down the court.
They can outsmart him potentially.
But they can, their shots, their skill, their passing, their understanding of the game. And I think, that's what's been great.
How do we make this sustain for more than just next year, for the years to come?
Well, we make it sustained by the level of basketball getting better and better. Just the interest that we have next year. The pool of players that are going to, that are available to us that want to play,
Any
dramatically bigger.
Any specific names that we can throw out there?
A lot of names have been thrown out. It's obvious who the guys are. A lot of guys have been showing up at games. You'll see more of them today. They were blown away by what they saw, and the athleticism. But also, our guys will be better next year. They will come. Jermaine O'Neal reached out to me a few weeks ago. He's got this great facility in Dallas where we'll most likely do our training camp. And he talked about, some of us weren't completely prepared, and that's why there were a couple injuries in the first week because we didn't realize that this was professional basketball.
They really went about 150%
Yeah.
day one.
So he's like, so we need to do training camp. I was like, yeah, we do. I mean, Jermaine, if we had done training camp the first year, would anyone have shown up? Probably not. Because the attitude was, why do we show up? We're just going to go play 3-on-3 playground ball with our friends. But now everyone sees what it is. Everyone's going to come ready to play, in shape. And look, the biggest knock on the league, and it was overwhelming, was, all these old guys are going to get hurt, and it was irresponsible. And it's a drag that injuries are part of professional sports. Luckily we don't deal with the kind of injuries that some sports like the NFL or boxing have to deal with that are life-threatening injuries. But when you look out how our guys have held up, it kind of makes you say, I wonder if guys shouldn't be allowed to play professional basketball until they're 30 because they get hurt when they're young because they don't know how to take care of their bodies. I don't want to take for granted anything. We have had some injuries, but very little compared to the physicality and and the amount of athleticism on the court.
One of the things you guys did, the Big Three League did during the season, very early on, was they felt that 60 points was too much. 230 at the half. After 30 points, they'll come back to 30 more. How much did that weigh in going into, again, let's say next season, as to if there's going to be more adjustments, less adjustments? Is there something, any more drastic changes, I would say, because 10 points could be considered a drastic change, but for the better?
Look, I mean, Ice Cube and I seriously debated on the point total being between 50 and 75 over a year. And so we probably reached a number about 20 different times. So there was no magic in 60. It was just looking at tapes, looking, at FIBA games and looking at tapes of playground games. And we ran simulations, and that felt like the right number. The reason we were wrong is that we were in Brooklyn and we had people in an arena for 6 hours. And that, as someone who has promoted and been involved with a lot of arena events of all types over the years, you don't keep someone in an arena for 6 hours. Now, the people in Brooklyn loved it, and no one complained about it, but it wouldn't have sustained. And so it was more about the overall experience and how we saw, in actuality, how the games came out. One of the good things about 50 points is there's no time for lulling around and don't worry, we'll make it up in the fourth quarter. Like, you have to be on from the get-go. We have seen some big comebacks. We saw Trilogy make, huge comebacks in the last couple of weeks, but every point matters. Every point has stakes. And a lot of the way that Ice Cube and I are big NBA fans. We're also big NFL fans, and one of the great things about the NFL is every game has stakes. Every game counts for making the playoffs, and every score counts. So I think what we try to do is take this sport and make sure every week teams needed to win. There was no lollygagging, and they hit the court ready to win. And I think that is a better experience both for the players and for the fans. It's more exciting. People are giving 100% from the get-go. So, you know, we realized after 1 week there were some glaring things that we could look at and say, okay, these things need to be changed. All right, we're first-year league. We're 1 week old. Why not make these changes now? We're not some big bureaucratic organization. They weren't controversial changes. They were supported by everybody, the fans, the arenas, the athletes, and us. So let's do it. We have no problem admitting that we got, a fair amount of things wrong because we got so much right.
Right.
And we got a fair amount wrong.
It's honesty. And
No.
look, in the end,
It's 1 year.
It's
And
right,
next year, our goal is to make the sport great. And next year, the learning curve has been astronomical. The amount of things that we never thought about that became impactful. Everything from how to sell cities, price tickets, what players needed, times of games, training. It goes on and on. We learned 500 lessons that will make next year way better. What I am proud of is that before we ever talked to a single player, we spent a year debating with each other, and then when we brought other people in, debating with them to get the formula right and question everything we were doing. And by the time we went to the players, we had a pretty good construct of what this league should look like, both from rules and the the construct of the league itself, how playoffs worked, how people got paid, all that. So I'm proud of what we did. It's unbelievable to think we actually pulled it off. But if we rest on our laurels and don't make it better, then it will disappear.
well, in general, congratulations on the success. I think, speaking as a fan of the league and somebody who's got to talk to players throughout these 10, 12 weeks that have been building up to this championship game, it's a great thing to see. It's great for summer.
Players are happy.
It very much seems like it. But I have one really big last question, and that's,
All right.
how's your 4-point shot? Better or worse than LeVar Ball's?
I had neck surgery, so everyone got off easy this year. It's well known throughout the league that I'm a 4-point ace. I had an injury, so I let everybody toy around this year. LeVar and Cube thinking they're badasses. Those guys shot 20%. Chauncey,
It was worse than that.
Chauncey, I think he shot like 40% from the 4-point line. What is that? I'm an 85% 4-point shooter. So I'll bring my game next year and we'll see what
I
happens.
will hold you to the 85%.
85%. Give or take 1 or 2 points.
Thanks so much, Jeff. It was a pleasure to sit down with you. Congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.